Well, it's early days, but it's thought the fire began high up in the upper space below the roof. Officials say, of course, that it could be linked to this restoration work that's been underway, but it's too early to say definitively. The area is very difficult to access. There's scaffolding all around it. It's spread very quickly around the frame of the roof, which of course is very old, and 2/3 of it, as we've been hearing, have been destroyed. Now, an inquiry has been begun by the Paris prosecutor's office. Now, the involvement of that office doesn't mean that there was criminal intent. It's an automatic thing under the French system to get them involved. They're investigating what they see as involuntary destruction by fire. So the first theory is that it wasn't caused by a criminal intent, but this was an accident. People have been interviewed already overnight, some of the workers who have been involved in the restoration work. Of course, it's a vast area and there's so much destruction that it's going to be very difficult to find material evidence to explain the origin. And the company who were involved in the work say that no one was on the site at the time the fire began, which of course was at the end of the working day.
Just tell us a bit more about those renovations that were going on, what the scope of them was.
Yes, it's been underway now for several months, since last summer. Now, all this began last year after it became clear that there were several cracks appearing in the stone. There was an urge of the whole cathedral. There was an urgent appeal for funds because it was realized that Notre Dame was in a pretty bad state, largely because of damage from pollution. And these weren't just hitting the decorative elements, but the whole structure could have been in danger. So tens of millions of euros have been pledged over the next few years, a mixture of public and private financing. Now, the first phase of this renovation was to restore the spire and the roof, and that had been underway. The scaffolding structure just itself was a huge challenge and was described almost as like a building in itself. It's been mounted by a specialist French company who know all about restoring historical monuments, called Europe Echafaudage. Something like 500,000 steel tubes. It's like putting up a building in itself. Now, different theories coming forward. Of course, this is very early. One police source being quoted as saying that perhaps it was sparked by welding work that then caught on to the big wooden structure, which of course is so old. But the architect responsible for the restoration of the spire says no, that work hadn't actually begun. So that theory he rules out. But there are people putting forward questions now about the fire protection measures, whether the equipment was up to date, questions about whether there were sprinklers, but as has been pointed out, these things can actually endanger these old structures, because if they get launched too early, then the water itself could cause a lot of damage.
Right.